Yo,
Hey, what's up, Tedious? I am needing you for something.
what thing?
I need you to come over because, I gotta make a cartoon tier list, you know?
Wait, what come over? You understand that I'm real, right? And you're not real?
Oh, that's true. I didn't really think of that one.
Well, big boy, that is a real conundrum that I don't know how you want me to fix that, but I'll rack my brain about that for a second. Or wait, actually I do have an idea. I have an idea on how we can. Oh shit!
Hello everyone, I am here joined with Tedious to make a Cartoon Network cartoon tier list. I know I did not mention it was going to be Cartoon Network in the beginning, but I don't care. So let's begin. Let's just put in some that we haven't watched. I don't even know what this one is.
I recognize the character, but I don't recognize the name of the show at all. Which should give you a pretty clear indication that I have no idea what it is.
God damn it.
Were you looking for how to draw a sheep?
Yeah, I gotta draw a sheep for...
Do you have to cut that out?
I'm probably gonna have to cut that out. It was...
Okay.
And...
Robot Jones, you don't...
Robot Jones.
You don't know anything about Robot Jones. I really don't either, but I like him. He's a cool character.
I guess we have all of these cartoons left. Let's start with Courage the Cowardly Dog. I gotta say, that's a fucking good show.
It is a fucking good show. I haven't watched it much recently, but every episode that I have watched in the past like few years, it is held up very well. I like that show a lot.
Yeah, it is very consistently good. The visuals are always like very interesting.
Well, yeah, the visuals are something that I think really sets it apart from other shows that were in its era. It was doing a lot of like mixing like animation mediums that...
Yeah, there weren't that many cartoons that did that. Like Chowder was another one that did that sort of thing, but can't think of anyone anymore else.
I think it really worked to the advantage of Courage, very particularly because it, like the CG stuff, that shit was fucking creepy. Like
exactly, because because this is like a scary cartoon sometimes. It's really good.
So where would you put it on the tier list then?
I would put it on either A or S.
I'm leaning more towards A.
Yeah, me too. We could change it to S or some other position. So Courage goes in A tier. Ben 10. Oh, this one is a doozy for me. So I presume this is only the original Ben 10.
Yeah, that's the difficult part, is that I want to treat it as like the whole thing, but if you want to treat it as just the original, we can do that, because I like the original.
No, because yeah, if we're gonna treat it like the whole thing, basically most of it was good except for the new series and half of Omniverse. The reboot is literally just like similar or the same plot points from the original, of course, because it's the reboot, but the jokes really like just fall flat because it's more centered around comedy instead of being an action show, and it really doesn't work because I think Ben 10 is not really a funny character. Like when he got to be a teenager, he got a bit funnier, but he's not really a funny character when he was a kid. He was just like an edgy kid.
He went on the internet and he said some less than savory words.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I could actually imagine him saying that sort of stuff.
So do you want to treat it as like the first series then? Because that is the only one that I really know anything about anyway.
You know, if I treat it as the whole show, I would be flexing my extensive knowledge of Ben 10, but at the same time, it would go into a lower position just because it's less good. Because the first one was like, in my opinion, the second best. I think Ben 10 Ultimate was the best one. It's still really freaking good. It would be like A tier. Like if we put the whole series, it would be either B or C.
Yeah, I mean, personally, for the first, like, Ben 10 series, I mean, I would say B tier for the first one, but I'm not too strong about that because I haven't seen it in a while. So if you want to bump it up to A, I'm not gonna oppose you on that.
I'm just gonna put it in B here. Pretty respectable position for our Ben 10.
B for Ben.
Steven Universe. Well, we're gonna put it in S tier, right? Or not? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
because there's not Future isn't here. That's the problem.
That's what I was gonna
say. Should we
say.
also? Yeah.
I think it is fair to count Future as being in the same thing because it's not.
Because it's just like an extra season, right?
It's not a reboot. It's just like a limited it's a limited series based on the other thing that was already running. I think it's fair to count that. The thing is though, I think they're both really strong S tier contenders. Both of them are.
Exactly. I think like Steven Universe Future is a stronger S tier contender just because the story was more condensed and easier to understand, and it was really powerful too, the story. And the original Steven Universe, I think at times was a bit too long, and I didn't really like the ending. That's a thing. I'll probably talk about it in a separate video because yeah.
I mean, honestly, I didn't even particularly mind the ending to Steven Universe that much. I understand why people didn't like it, but I thought it was a satisfying enough conclusion. The thing is,
I think the ending to Steven Universe Future was way better than the ending to the original run, because like ending to the original run, I feel like it was a bit rushed, which is ironic because the whole run was like had a lot of filler and stuff. So you'd think they'd really take their time with it, but they actually just kind of rushed it.
I mean, that is an impression that I got while watching the last season, was that it kind of seemed like it was progressing in a way that it was like, okay, yeah, they're kind of.
They were just kind of getting every single thing that they needed to get out of the way, and it was in like way too little time to do that.
Yeah, I think if you look back on it, it's not as bad as it was back then, because back then you didn't know you were getting a movie and a limited series.
Oh yeah, true.
But I think it's fine now.
I think the first season was rough around the edges, but you can say that for a lot of shows. And I don't know, people just kind of took it like out of proportion. Almost every show has a rough first season. Even SpongeBob had that kind of thing.
I mean, the thing is, the way that Cartoon Network marketed Steven Universe as it was coming out, that did not help at all. Like, that
I don't really know how they did that, because the marketing is different in different countries, of course, so
right.
I don't know how it was.
I didn't think about that.
I pretty much, when I watched stuff on TV still, just kind of turned my brain off during the commercial breaks, so I wouldn't really remember any ads and stuff.
I think it is definitely an S tier contender. I'm a little hesitant to put it up there, just in case, like, because I know that I already know, like, the two shows that I absolutely want to put in S tier, and I don't know how much I'd put Steven Universe on the same level as those. That's kind of the difficult thing that I'm reaching right now.
Yeah. I would put it in S tier, but leave it like either just later on put it like very high A, or just very low S. But
yeah, for now I think we can put it in S.
And Eddy, that's a strong S tier contender.
You think so?
I think. I mean, it's a totally different kind of cartoon to all of the other cartoons we reviewed so far, because this one is just pure slapstick.
Yeah.
And it has that like 90s cartoon kind of thing going for it, because the animation is really exaggerated.
There is
and
a lot
of sound effects.
There is a lot about Ed, and Eddy that I do love, but the only recent experience I have with this show is the movie, and I
didn't even watch the movie. Also, did you see that there's two Ed and Eddy things here? I'm just gonna leave this one that's cropped up poorly, like, not there. I'm just gonna not put it in the list.
Dude, that's a different show.
That's this one here because it's more readable.
That's Ed and Ed, dude. Yeah,
well,
but yeah, the only recent experience I have with Ed and Eddy is the movie, and I don't know what it was about it. I just didn't like the movie. We're not ranking
the movie.
Granted, we're not ranking the movie, but it does give me an impression on what that show was like. And that's not the problem I had with it. The problem was just the pacing. It felt really weird, but
I haven't watched the movie, but I feel like the pacing would be weird because, you know, Ed and Eddy's not the kind of show to have a storyline like that would stretch out as far to like to be a freaking feature time thing, you know. Having it be full feature length would make it have problems with pacing. I feel like the same thing happened with SpongeBob, you know, the SpongeBob movie.
yeah.
The pacing was kind of off because usually the stories work on the show because it's just 11 to 22-minute episodes, but stretching it out to like an hour and a half, there was gonna be pacing problems, of course.
Personally, I'd probably put it in A tier, but
Yeah, I would also put it in high A tier. Maybe change it to S if no other shows are better, or maybe, I don't know, just leave it there. So this is Ed and Eddy on A tier. Johnny Bravo, this one I've had a somewhat recent experience with because I think it's part of the programming on another channel that's owned by Cartoon Network. I don't think it's Boomerang, but I don't know which one it is. But I've had a somewhat recent experience. I watched like 10 episodes there. And I have to say, it was really good, but I think the thing with Johnny Bravo is that, at least from only watching a few episodes, is that it feels a bit repetitive.
I think that's absolutely a fair criticism to make. And the thing is, I love Johnny Bravo. I love the concept of it very, very
Yeah,
much.
just a guy that's a dick, but not because he wants to, but because he's just a stupid big guy, you know?
Yeah, and I relate to that concept a lot.
I don't know if I relate to that concept, not because I'm not a dick, but because I'm not a big guy.
It's okay. Even a thin fucking paperweight like you can embody the daily life of Johnny Bravo.
I think the thing I like the most about Johnny Bravo is that they don't make him overly, like, dickish. At least not in every episode. Of course, there are some exceptions, but that is with every cartoon. Sometimes they get the characters wrong.
Yeah.
Like, he has a heart, you know?
Yeah. And I give them credit. That's not a very easy thing to be consistent with.
So, would Johnny Bravo be A or B? Because that's where I'm leaning towards.
I would say I love the concept. So I would put it in like C.
C?
Yeah.
I think that's a bit too harsh, but we're gonna leave it there. Just yeah, and if no other cartoons are better, of course, we're gonna bump it up to low B.
Yeah, I think that's
But
fair.
like, Johnny Bravo gets really Bravo on C tier.
Like I was gonna advocate for like B tier at least for Johnny Bravo, but then you said like, oh, it's a bit repetitive, and it's like, yeah, it is kind of repetitive.
So Robot Jones, I have no idea of what Robot Jones is about, so this is a thing for you, if you have any idea of what it is about.
I have never ever seen an episode of Robot Jones. I just like the character.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
So that is Robot Jones on the Robot Jones tier. Now we have Dexter's Lab. This one I haven't watched recently, but I have a few memories of it, and I feel like it was basically, from the concept and the execution, I feel like it was better Johnny Bravo, if you get what I mean. Like, the concept, I think it was cooler. The execution was very good. It wasn't very repetitive, from what I remember.
See, I can agree with you. However, we can't place it too high. Also, your display stopped working. The thing is about Dexter's Lab is I do agree with a lot of the stuff that you said. However, I don't think we can put it too high because,
Oh, of course, yeah.
like, I mean, even like seasons 3 and 4 of that show, I wouldn't say they were bad. They were just a little rough, you know?
Yeah. So should we put it in very high C tier ahead of Johnny Bravo, or low B tier behind Ben 10?
I would put it in the light B.
I can agree to that. So Dexter's Lab goes in B tier. Adventure Time. This is a recent one now. We're getting to the recent shows, and I gotta say here, I'm kind of a poser in Adventure Time stuff. Cause like, I watched most of the show, but I didn't watch the whole thing, and I know a lot of people say, of course, like, oh, you gotta watch the whole show. The ending is good, and there's plot lines, and it gets more interesting. But I think I stopped at like season 5 at most, and I don't remember a lot of the plot lines. I know it got heavily experimental during a period of the show. Like, there was a time where the only episodes that would play on the schedule would be like I think it was a 3-part series of Lemon Grab's like Spawn, I don't know. I think it was Lemon Hope, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's a pretty deep story, but at the same time, it has nothing to do with the show.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've watched Adventure Time pretty like up to season 5, right?
Around that mark, I don't know exactly. I don't know if you watched the whole thing.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because my jumping off point was around season 6, so around the same time. I don't know why that is. I think that's because
because of the same reason, probably.
Yeah, I think that is because of the scheduling, because they only aired like 2 episodes of Adventure Time every day, and it was like at 7. So here's the thing about Adventure Time, and like people will tell you that the old seasons were really good, and I'm not saying they're not, but I think a large part of Adventure Time in its earlier seasons was that it was funny, that it was an entertaining show to watch, and I feel like just remembering what Adventure Time was like in its earlier seasons, I feel like I wouldn't like it. I feel like I wouldn't think it's funny. That's the thing. It's just, I feel like it isn't gonna hold up for me.
I think the earlier seasons of Adventure Time were really like hit or miss, because some episodes were very funny, like very, very funny, so they kind of achieved that. Some episodes fell flat, and it was like, that happened like in a pretty regular basis. It was like just, it kept spiking up in fun and then just going down again with every episode. And even on the earlier seasons, I guess they were trying to experiment with serious plot lines. And don't get me wrong, it's good that they want to be a serious show, like at one point. But like, the problem with it is that it has to be more of a gradual change, because there were some serious, some very gruesome stories that they introduced, like in the earlier seasons. I can't quite put my finger on which ones, but I guess you know what I'm talking about.
There was that 2-parter where Princess Bubblegum died.
Yeah, that one. That, like, it's really weird, because like the whole show was funny, and they just introduce a thing where like it's a 2-parter where one part starts out filled with comedy like a normal episode, and then no comedy whatsoever for like the next episodes, like for the next basically 40 minutes of the show. Like, just, yeah.
I think that is
It's really weird.
I think that is a great way to define Adventure Time, is that stark contrast, because it is really, it's kind of an inconsistent show.
I like the show for trying to be a show for like teenagers rather than kids, because it had a lot of like more adult jokes on the show. But in that regard, regular show did way better, I think.
Well, we'll get to regular show, because I watched the entirety of that show, so I did some research.
Oh yeah, I love regular show, but we'll get to that later.
So, as controversial as this may be, I would say that Adventure Time is a D tier show. The thing is, yes, I do believe it did a lot of good. I'm glad that Adventure Time was around, but I mean, it was just kind of a right place at the right time sort of thing, because that was coming off of CN Real.
True.
It was good that Adventure Time was there to bring Cartoon Network out of that era, but I don't think that absolves Adventure Time for what it is, and I feel like Adventure Time is probably a D tier show. I need to watch it.
I think if you just put the last arc of the show in isolation, basically, it would be a great show. It would be basically like Steven Universe Future, kind of like in that regard. It would be like an S tier show if it was just that. But seeing as it has to carry out the whole rest of the show, so like all of the other 7 seasons apart from that one season that was like amazing. If you just let like the small moments and the nostalgia speak for the show, you could put it like as an S tier show. But if you see the show as a whole, it could go like as low as D, as you said.
That's
a
pretty
tough
much where I
decision.
stand. I think it is a light D, but that is.
I would say it's more of a low C, but I'm gonna put it in a light D, so we might move it up later.
Don't dislike this video.
I feel we're like the only people on this whole planet that like Steven Universe over Adventure Time.
Yeah, we're edgy. We're edgy like that.
And you know, guys, we're members of the Cartoon Council, so
That's right. Our opinion is fact. So.
we're right. You're wrong. Camp Lazlo. I have no fond memories of the show, but I remember watching it a little bit. Yeah.
I don't remember a lot about Camp Lazlo, but I do. Man, I really don't remember a damn thing about that show. Fuck.
I feel like I just get every time I think about Camp Lazlo, I'm just like, my gym partner's a monkey, right? I just think of those characters. I don't get it.
I don't know if that speaks to Camp Lazlo not being very memorable, or if I just like haven't seen it in a while. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
So, where would you put this show? Although we barely remember anything of it.
I feel like I don't remember enough of it to make any judgment, to be honest. I don't remember a fucking thing about Camp Lazlo.
I will say, from the small things I remember, it would be like a D tier show, and then we put my gym partner's a monkey like in C, but let's get to that later. So Camp Lazlo, yes, a D. Cow and Chicken, that's a show that is very old, but I have a few memories of it.
Yeah, I mean, I to be honest with you, when Cow and Chicken was on, that's one of the ones that I wouldn't watch that much, but if I look back on that show now, I probably would like it. That's the thing, because the sense of humor.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, exactly. The humor was like very like just I don't know how to kind of put it. It was like a kind of edgier humor, I guess.
I probably would like Cow and Chicken, and I feel like just from
the plot lines I remember of it, I feel like it was a show that was like, you know, when I said like, oh, regular show did a lot of things for like more grown-up people. Cow and Chicken would be like that on steroids, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
They would just have like a lot of sex jokes, and they would have like just. There was a character that was literally the devil.
Oh yeah, that guy's fucking creepy. I don't like that guy at all. I would put it in like high B tier.
I would put it in high C. Let's
Real.
So just to make like a kind of a in between of what we said, I'm gonna put in like low to mid B. So Cow and Chicken is a B tier show. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. This one, I know I watched it a fuck ton as a kid. I have some toys for this show, which is a rare thing. I usually don't buy stuff from shows. I remember it fondly.
I do too, and I think the biggest praise that I can give towards the show is how strong just the concept is. I think it's a really interesting concept. I like how they executed it as well, and
yeah, it was really good. I loved the art style. It was like it was probably the only show in that period that didn't have thick outlines like everywhere.
Yeah, you know, I think there's a lot that Foster's did right, and I really like it. I think it's a great show. So I would say A tier, maybe S.
Too. I will put it in A tier for now. So yeah, Foster's is a really good show. Chowder, that one I already know I want to put it in S tier. That is probably one of my favorite cartoons ever. It's like, I said Gumball was my favorite cartoon, and I'm pretty sure it is, but I think Chowder is like a heavy, like a strong contender, you know? Just for, God, it's so fucking good.
My difficulty with Chowder is I feel I loved the show as a kid. I feel like I probably wouldn't like it that much now. I'd probably put it in a B tier if I'd watched it recently. But going off of what I remember, yeah, I would say it would be around the top.
I love the fact that the show just broke the fourth wall a lot of times. Is you might think, oh, a show that breaks the fourth wall every time, that would get stale soon, right? But it actually didn't get stale. The show just kinda, like, it kept one-upping itself, and it ended soon enough so that it wouldn't reach a point where it was stale. I feel like the show did what it could during, like, the 2 or 3 season run that it had, I don't remember correctly.
I think it was 3.
Like, yeah. And like, I feel like if it had more, it would turn into basically just a SpongeBob slash a lot of other shows that stretched out a lot.
I did say that if I watched it now, I probably wouldn't like it as much as I used to, but really the only episodes that I can immediately remember and that come to my head, there are like multiple, like a lot of them actually, that immediately come to mind because they're so memorable and they're so funny. So it definitely is either S or A tier, and I probably lean towards being top of A, but maybe it is an S.
I will put it in S, not like in front of Steven Universe. I'll put it like in a low S to strike a balance here. I feel like this show is just great. Flapjack, that's a show I remember fondly. A lot of people, this show divides a lot of the community, from what I know. Because a lot of people think it was a good for nothing, crappy, just gross humor show. And a lot of other people think it was a classic. I tend to be more in the middle with that because I haven't watched it recently, but I remember as a kid I kind of liked it.
Well, okay, here's the thing about Flapjack for me. I remember this show to be a fucking classic. I love this show, but a lot of what I say is good about Flapjack is also what was good about Courage, and I would not put Flapjack over Courage. So, given
Yeah,
that,
me neither.
it needs to rank lower than it, but I do think it is a great show, and it is at least on a similar playing field in my mind, because the same thing that I said about Chowder is that it applies to Flapjack as well. There are a lot of episodes of that show that I can remember, and that I
Yeah,
like.
exactly. That is the big factor. It was a very memorable show, and it was like very unique with like not only the art style, of course, that is like the first thing that comes to mind, but like the whole setting was very unique. Kind of like Chowder, I'd say, because like the whole thing with like pirates and the characters and the freaking whale and stuff, like it was just a lot of interesting character designs.
The dog that does the backflip in front of Captain Canuck.
Oh my god, that's so good. I love that one. Yeah, maybe we should bump up Courage a little bit, because now looking at like the perspective, I think it would be, if Flapjack is that kind of classic, considering how we feel about Ed and Eddy and Courage, I think Courage should go further.
Yeah.
And Flapjack goes behind it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Now the Powerpuff Girls. This is the show that the thing surrounding the show is that, you remember saying, oh, I don't like the show because it's girly, but you'd always watch it, haha, funny. Except for the fact that I was one of the guys that actually did not watch it at all.
Fuck!
And not because it was girly, but just because I didn't like it.
Well, that's interesting, because I didn't watch it because... I don't know. I just didn't watch it. I don't know. I don't think it was because it was girly. I just didn't care. I don't know why.
Yeah, I didn't watch it because I found the show to be repetitive. And my favorite character from the show, that is the only really good character, is him. His name is him,
Yeah, I remember him.
and he is really good. He's a very good character. He's the best villain of the show because he just basically brings a whole other thing to the show. Like, he's just a mystic force of nature kind of guy, you know? Like, it's really interesting to see. Like, he can do anything, basically. It's weird.
I think the villains of the Powerpuff Girls were definitely a strong suit of that entire show.
Yeah, but I never liked how formulaic it was. Every episode could be condensed down to be somewhat of the same thing, with a few exceptions, of course.
That's possible. Like I said, I didn't watch it, so
I watched a tiny bit of it. Like, I actually watched the reboot more than the original show, and I feel like the original show was still better than the reboot. But, like, we're not counting the reboot here, but the reboot was basically the original show, but even more formulaic, because they didn't really, for like 2 whole seasons, the reboot didn't really try anything new. They just kind of kept going with the show how it used to be, and that kind of fell flat. And then when they got experimental, the things that they experimented with weren't good.
I didn't I literally I've watched maybe 1 episode of the Powerpuff Girls. I've not watched a single fucking second of the reboot, so I don't know anything about all that. But I
You know, I gotta say here one thing: the reboot. A lot of people say it's like one of the worst reboots ever and a really bad cartoon. I feel like it's not that good, but also the hate on it is a little bit undeserved. It's like, it's really hard because the original Powerpuff Girls was really popular, so just rebooting that would be really hard for like a recent team and stuff.
I mean, if you ask me, I don't think they rebooted that show because of any good reason. They just did it because
Of course.
it's a marketing machine, baby.
Yeah, the whole show was just a marketing machine. It had good villains, but the problem is you don't spend that much time with the villains. You spend the most time with the 3 girls, and they're not very interesting.
Yeah, I was about to say that. So yeah, I agree with you. From what I remember about Powerpuff Girls, I think that is a completely fair assessment to make. Like, I don't know anything about Camp Lazlo, and that's currently in the lowest tier that we have on the list right now. But Adventure Time, I think, is better than Powerpuff Girls, and
Oh, absolutely.
by a
is better.
significant amount. So I probably
God.
would put Powerpuff in E.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So Powerpuff Girls, lowest tier show so far. The Amazing World of Gumball.
Alright,
that one
fucking
is
chuck
my
it in
favorite
S
cartoon.
tier. Fucking chuck it in
Alright.
the top of S tier, and we'll see if anything passes that. I mean, we could talk about it if you want, but we are
I
in
mean,
firm agreement on this one.
Alright,
so.
just to like kind of set it in, so it's not confusing to someone that hasn't watched. It was the most consistent show I've ever watched with its comedy and the serious parts. It was very funny. The visuals were always interesting, and it used a very interesting mix of types of animation, because every character is like a different kind. There's claymation, there's stop motion, there's like a freaking puppet, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with all of that, and I also just think that in terms of actual comedy, there really isn't any show that has done better than Gumball in that regard. I think Gumball is the funniest show that Cartoon Network has made.
I can totally agree to that, even though some other shows that only focused on comedy had funnier separate moments than Gumball. I'd say Chowder had some funnier episodes than Gumball had. From a consistency standpoint, the whole Gumball show was funny, and Chowder wasn't like that funny, you know? Like, that's a comparison you can make.
I would
And-
dock Gumball 1 point just because I go back to that show a lot, and there is a particular season that I do struggle to watch, and that is season 1. I struggle to watch season
Yeah.
1. I think that is
Season
probably
1
the weakest.
was the rough start, but honestly, I feel like almost every show in this list, with the exception of, like, I don't know, Ben 10,
Yeah.
had like a rough season 1. And I said Ben 10 because Ben 10 season 1 was probably one of the best ones.
Yeah.
But like,
The thing is about Gumball though, is after season 1, they hit it. They hit it on the head for the rest
after
of the show.
season 1, the show skyrockets. It gets so good.
Like,
it is just amazing.
Literally from the first episode of season 2, I believe it was The Remote is the first episode of season 2. That is a
I think it was.
significant jump up in quality. Like,
Oh,
that
absolutely.
That episode is
And
phenomenal.
even if season 1 is kind of like less good, it had a lot of like good moments in it.
I
And
agree.
it had many good episodes. So there are a lot of shows in this list that are basically just season 1 of Gumball.
like,
Like the whole show.
here's the extent of my praise for Gumball. Season 1 of Gumball, the worst of Gumball in my opinion, is still better than everything that's currently in A tier, in my opinion.
Yeah, Gumball, best show so far. Oh, except for Robot Jones, but that is not even a show, that is an experience.
Dude, who even knows what happened with Robot Jones?
I don't. Kids Next Door. I don't remember that much of the show, but I know it was pretty good because it was one of the only shows here that was like pretty much just serious from what I remember. It's like it was filled with slapstick because it was a like cartoony style show. Like it was very episodic, of course. But the whole every operation that they did, I know it had like a lot of serious stuff about it, like behind it.
So the thing about Kids Next Door, I have really not seen a lot of that show, and this is another one where I really can't explain why that is the case, because I do think I probably would like it if I've watched it. Because, and I think this is a strong suit of the show, I think it is a very creative show. I think
Yeah.
it's not repetitive, which is...
The premise of the show allows for so many things to be done, and they did a lot of those things actually, so that's really good.
How long did it run for?
Let me see. For number of seasons, 6. There's 81 episodes, well, 3 of them being specials. I remember the specials a lot.
I do too.
I know they were very serious, and even then they could be funny. They were always very creative. I feel like this show would be a strong suit for B tier.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
But would it be ahead of or behind of Ben 10? I feel like it could go ahead.
I would put it ahead,
What
yeah.
do you think? At the top of B tier, we have Codename Kids Next Door.
Alright, hit me up
So,
with foreign courage.
For some reason, there is another courage here, but yeah. I mean, actually, that's unfair to put in haven't watched because I have watched this version specifically. Qual coragem o cão covarde eu acho que não deu. That was me saying that he didn't even go on the list in Portuguese.
Alright, I see what's next.
Okay, KO. This one, I haven't watched that much of it, but seeing from what you said and from the things I've watched, this is an awesome show.
Okay, KO is the best show from Cartoon Network. It is the best one. It is so good.
I would put it behind Gumball, but I haven't watched that much of it.
I think
So
the only
I don't know if that
problem
would be unfair.
I think the only problem I did have with OKKO is that season 3 was wrapping up a little bit quick. It had that same kind of problem that Steven Universe had at the end. Because they canceled that show after 3 seasons, which is really sad, but I mean, it
wasn't a popular show for some reason, but I watched like almost the full season, like the first season, and I watched the Sonic special, and that was my favorite thing ever that Cartoon Network has ever done. I'm a big Sonic fan. That just put a smile on my face. They got Sonic's personality. In my opinion, Sonic's personality in OKKO is the best personality he's ever had in any media ever.
Yeah, I think that's
It's the
possible.
best Sonic version. It's like he's not overly edgy, but he's also edgy, and he's not like he's a very good balance of everything that Sonic is, and he can actually get serious. It's not like the recent Sonic games where he's just like, Baldy Mac knows her.
Green
Sorry
Hill's
for
looking a lot
Sonic
more
Red.
like Sand Hill.
God, I hate that one. Sorry for the Sonic fan epic rant here, but that is I sometimes I need to get that shit off my chest.
But like even with how like they kind of paced the last season, I still think it worked out in a way that was perfectly fine. And I think the thing is, when I think about Gumball, there are still like maybe a couple of episodes out of the like 200 that there are that I don't like. I can't pick a single
of course.
episode of OKKO that I do not like in some way.
I would say OKKO, seeing from what I think of it, what you think of it, it should be tied with Gumball.
You
So
can't-
I'm gonna put it like behind, but this, this is a tie.
Yeah, okay.
Over the Garden Wall. This one, I watched it like actually like weekly on TV and stuff, and I really liked that it was the most serious cartoon that Cartoon Network ever did. I loved the art style, but I feel like it kind of had a problem that it didn't really fit Cartoon Network's aesthetic. It's like Steven Universe, when Over the Garden Wall was releasing, Steven Universe wasn't a serious show still. It was kind of starting to get there, but it was still like more slapstick and episodic. And all of the other shows are just comedies.
Yeah.
So it kind of didn't fit, but I like what they did. I like it a lot.
Well,
I'd say it's a B or A tier show.
Well, I would say that that could play to its strengths a little bit because it was just so different.
True. It's a kind of a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, I can agree with that. The thing is, I haven't seen it. It's been on my watch list for Hulu for like fucking ever since I started paying for Hulu.
I strongly recommend it. It feels like you're watching like a Netflix series. It doesn't feel like a Cartoon Network show.
I could imagine
It's
that.
an
Yeah.
experience.
The thing is, I was gonna watch it after I watched Uncle Grandpa, but I've been fucking stuck on Uncle Grandpa.
God, we're gonna get to Uncle Grandpa. Okay. Also, I just gotta say that Over the Garden Wall had the scariest villain in all of Cartoon Network. That shit actually had me scared. Like, it actually spooked me. Like, that was Resident Evil kind of shit.
That's fucking
like,
brutal.
I feel like it did a great job with the villains, and the protagonists were really like good too. I feel like their like thing that they had with each other was really good because one of them was a small kid, so he kind of brought a little bit of light onto the darkness, and the other one was an overly like worrying and like not very confident like teenager, so he brought more dark to it. So it was a good contrast, I guess. I feel like this show would be an A tier show.
I that's where I could personally see it. The thing is, like, I haven't watched it, but it looks fucking awesome.
So I'm gonna put it here, top of A tier. I feel.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's where I wanted to put it.
Regular show. We got to a big one now. Big player here. So I gotta say that's one of my favorite cartoons too.
This is a loaded one because Regular Show was another one that ran for a very long time.
I feel like Regular Show was the show that actually got good. Like, that was actually good while running for too long.
That's
Like, the only season that was bad was the last one, and it wasn't even that bad.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. I think, honest to God, I think Regular Show is an S tier show for like pretty much all of its run. That's the thing, and that is unheard of. I think the only show that I can give similar praise to in such a way is, I mean, Gumball, obviously, because that show also ran for quite a while, but also fucking King of the Hill, man. That show was also great. And ran
Still
for a very
have
long
to
time.
watch King of the Hill. I know it's a classic, I just haven't watched it because I think it wasn't like from my time, basically. I just kind of just kind of shrugged it off like, ah, it's an old show.
Yeah.
But I know it's a classic. I gotta watch that.
I'm glad I got into
So-
it while it was still on Adult Swim. It's not anymore, unfortunately.
Gotta put regular show. I feel like behind the tied best shows would be a good place to put it, right?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Samurai Jack. That show had one of the most interesting art styles in the whole Cartoon Network thing. It was really good. The art style was really interesting. And should we count the Adult Swim later season that it had?
Yes, because
think
it
so,
is
right?
season 5. It is the show. It's just, it's just on a different, like, subdivision of Cartoon Network. You know. Thing is,
I haven't watched that much of Samurai Jack, honestly.
I haven't watched
remember
any
early
of it.
episodes. I remember the early episodes, and I've seen like the trailer for the 5th season in Adult Swim, and I thought that is really interesting, but I didn't watch it. But I'd say, just from like the synopses of the show and seeing how it's also a serious show, Over the Garden Wall is the only like serious show that we have so far. Samurai Jack was another serious show. And I feel like it did that really spectacularly from what I've seen. I haven't seen much.
I haven't seen the show at all.
I will put it behind Over the Garden Wall, I say. I feel like A tier would be a strong pick for this show for now.
I don't have any objections because I don't know anything about it.
Original Teen Titans. I gotta say, I actually have more memories with Go than with the original one, just because it wasn't from, like, my time, I'd say, I guess. But I still think the original Teen Titans was better than Go in some regards. It was just a totally different show, I'd say.
Yeah.
But, well, we're seeing a streak of serious shows, aren't we? Because the original Teen Titans was basically just, I'd say it was a mixed bag, but the thing is, you know when the show was serious or not.
Yeah.
Because it actually told you that. Because when the opening was in Japanese, I believe the show was going to be slapstick, and then when it was in English, it was a serious episode.
Really? I didn't know. Is that how they did it?
I think it's a pattern that like happened throughout the show, and even if it's not intentional, it basically was so big a pattern that it's kind of a thing.
I didn't know that.
I love the serious episodes. I don't so much love the non-serious ones because I think their humor is too anime-like, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that it doesn't fit in with the rest of the show. This show is the most anime Cartoon Network has ever been, apart from that one show of that guy that went to Japan to turn into an anime. I don't remember what the show was.
Kappa Mikey?
Yeah, that show was bad.
It's
not even
fuck
on the
up.
list. I feel like when it was serious, it hit that mark of being like a cartoon anime hybrid. Like it actually was really good on the serious moments. The slapstick was just bad anime. It was just like, this is just basically like, oh, you think I'm cute? Oh no, you're not cute and stuff like that. Like just, meh.
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag.
I don't remember a lot about Teen Titans because I didn't watch it. We're on an unfortunate streak of just shows I haven't fucking watched that much. But
At least this one I have watched.
I have seen
But-
quite a bit. I remember seeing quite a bit of Teen Titans, and from what I remember, I do like it. But I completely see where the things you're saying come from, so I'm not gonna defend it that hard.
I put it on either low B or high C.
Honestly,
I'd say low B, but I don't know.
I just don't remember enough about it.
I love the characters, but I feel like their personalities were a bit too cardboard-like. Like, the only characters that were deep were Cyborg and Robin to an extent. So I'll just put in high C, I guess. That's a good pick.
Yeah.
Teen Titans Go. And the first thing I'll say here, it's not as bad as everyone remembers it.
It's definitely not as bad as people give it credit for, but as far as everything that we have ranked goes, it is the worst show among all of them, in my opinion.
I feel like it had very huge spikes of just very clever writing on some episodes. And then for the rest of the season, it's just bad. I sincerely adore the episode where they just kind of like. I think it was the best episode of the show because it was so meta. But yeah, basically there was a villain there that like controlled the TV, I guess, and he basically just showed to the Teen Titans how they used to look on the previous run. And he showed them like actual episodes of the original Teen Titans, and they were all like, "Oh my god, we used to be so much better." But then it was like kind of a message that I think worked a little bit. We're gonna discuss that later, but like the message of the whole episode was change kind of has to happen for a reason or other reason. Like I guess the writers of Teen Titans Go weren't really good at writing serious things. They were going for a slapstick show, and even the art style reflects that. So the change was inevitable, I guess. That's the message that it goes. Like the characters are like, yo, I don't like being that serious and stuff. They don't like acting stuff out during the episode, and then they break the TV. Like they actually like break the screen to break the fourth wall, and they leave, and then that's the episode.
I mean, if you like that kind of writing, then that's cool, I guess. I fucking cannot stand it, though.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. The message, if the show was actually good, that episode would be basically just a rebuttal for the show, but the show's not good.
Yeah, I mean, my problem isn't that it's not what Teen Titans was, it's that...
Absolutely not.
It's
just
bad
like,
at what it's trying to do.
Yeah, it's not funny. The first season was too much of like childish fart humor. Then the later seasons had less of that, even though they still had it. And the rest of the humor that they tried to go for was bad. I really loved the episodes when it got meta, because that was the only thing that they were good for. And I gotta say, I watched the Teen Titans Go movie on the theater, and it was a fucking amazing movie because they weren't trying to do their usual gross humor. The whole movie was just kind of a meta thing, you know? It wasn't fully meta, it wasn't just the whole movie they cracking jokes about, oh, this movie sucks. But it was really good. Because they made a story that was totally separate from the original show. And they went with it. Every joke was funny in that movie. But as we're not ranking the movie, this show is fucking garbage.
The thing is with Teen Titans Go, it is it is nowhere near as bad as people make it out to be, but it is an F tier show in my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This show's not that good. It's an F tier show. I know, going off that meta joke thing, I know they did a whole episode. I am not kidding. They literally made an episode that was an original Teen Titans episode, but edited to be like redubbed at points, so they would be saying stupid shit. That was the funniest shit ever.
Okay, that
was
that
one
sounds
episode.
Fucking awesome. But also, I remember a similar bit in Gumball. They probably did it a lot better.
They actually went too safe with this show. People say it went too far from what Teen Titans originally was. I feel like it was too stale. It was too safe. All of the episodes were the same thing, and those episodes that weren't trying to be the same thing were funny as hell.
Yeah, I agree.
Next up we have the Looney Tunes show. I don't really remember much of that. Reminder, this is not the old like 40s, 60s Looney Tunes. This is the show where they're in a big city and they like are more anthropomorphic, I guess.
So, do you know much about this show?
Oh, I know one thing that I liked a lot is that Lola Bunny kind of became a canon character, and they gave her a personality. I like that. In Space Jam, she was just sexy, I guess, for furries at least. But on this show, I love that the personality they gave her completely subverted every expectation anyone would have, because she's a fucking crazy bitch. Like, just literally, she's crazy. She's actually, like, had episodes a portrayer as a freaking psycho on the beginning of the show, and then like she went on to be more friendly and stuff. But she's basically like the kind of girl to be like all over Bugs Bunny, just acting all crazy and being like marry me and stuff, and like actually like kidnapping him in some episodes and stuff. Like that is a great personality for her. It's not what I was expecting.
So,
But that's the only thing I remember about the show. The rest I feel like it was just kind of just any other show. Like it was just eh.
well, the thing is about this show, and I feel like people nowadays, they think that this show was pretty bad, and it could be.
I
But
feel like it wasn't, but keep going.
I really liked the show when it was running. I thought it was a really funny show, and I liked the episodes that they had of it. I thought they did really neat stuff with it. You know, I mean,
I feel like people connect this show way too much to the original Looney Tunes. I feel like this show could be even better than the original. Because the original might have been revolutionary for the era, but it wasn't. The original show wasn't anything. It was just random slapstick.
Yeah. I really like the Looney Tunes show. I'd probably need to watch it again soon. And I probably will. But I remember really, really liking it, and I thought that
I feel like if you watch it and don't have like the original Looney Tunes on your head, because this is a totally different thing. But still, if you don't have the original Looney Tunes on your brain, this is a really okay show. Like, it was really good. I feel like a lot of the plot points and a lot of the stuff that it did was mediocre. And not because it was bad, but because it was too similar to any other show, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say next is, while I think it was a funny show, it wasn't, they didn't do a lot of memorable stuff with it. And I think that is enough to put it in, like, C tier, but I think they did a good job
I
of
would
writing.
put that in C tier too. I would put it in low C. Uncle Grandpa. No, I want you to start with this one because you've watched more of it, I guess.
So, I'm almost done watching Uncle Grandpa, because I'm watching all of it at the moment. I hate admitting this, I actually quite like it, because I think Uncle Grandpa is a pretty fucking funny show. And I think people sell it really short that it's like, oh, it's a gross out show. It's really not. And it's also not, well, okay. If it's random humor, it's random in much of a similar way, in my opinion, to Aqua Teen Hunger Force, which I also fucking love. Where it's kinda, yeah, it's fucking out there, but, you know, it follows the rules that the universe itself sets, and it's just it's so out there and weird. The problem with Uncle Grandpa is that if you don't think it's funny, you're not getting a damn thing out of it, and that
is pretty much me
Yeah.
throughout almost the whole show. Because I feel like what it did was amazing, but it didn't work for me. Because I feel like it was just too random for me to find actually funny sometimes. There were times where it subverted my expectations so much that it was very funny. And I don't know if this is a popular opinion or a hot take. The latest season was actually better than the other ones, just because it was actually even dumber. Like, I think they were kind of running out of gas, I guess, and they just decided to get fucking cavemen stupid, and I love that.
Yeah.
But the rest of the show kind of was in that weird area, a weird like area that was good, but at the same time fell flat for me because they weren't out there enough, but they were really out there, and I just kind of can't decide on it.
One of my favorite jokes from Uncle Grandpa is when this tree had like a bunch of fucking stolen money in it.
I think I remember. Oh my god, I remember
And the
that
police came to the door, and Uncle Grandpa said, "Oh no, they're here for my overdue library book."
Yeah, that's a good one. I I like the episode where they went shopping. Dude, that episode was really good. I remember a lot of gags on it.
You talking
Remember
about
it had a
Escalator?
lot of. I don't remember what it was. Like, they went to like a huge mall and it had like escalators in it, I guess. But like, they went to do stuff on the mall, and like there were so many freaking political jokes in that episode for no reason, and I enjoyed that.
I think
Like they just went off.
there's like 3 episodes with that basic concept, but I do think a lot of them are pretty good. Like obviously my favorite's Escalator because they get on an escalator and it fucking breaks. It's an
Oh, right, alright, I know which one you're talking about.
It is a staircase they can walk off, but they don't notice that until the end of the episode. It's really fucking funny.
The escalator breaks and they're all just standing there like a helicopter brings them food.
And like
I love those episodes where it's really creative and they get those subjects and really go out there. Like, I love when the characters are ungodly stupid in that show. When they're not, I feel like, and that's for like a big portion of the show, I don't feel like it hits the mark for me.
I can see why someone would say that, and I agree. Because like I said, if you don't think Uncle Grandpa is funny, you're gonna get nothing out of it. But I think it's fucking funny.
So yeah, a lot of controversial opinions here, but again, we're right, you're wrong.
Yeah, because I think it's a really fucking funny show, and that's what it's aiming to do. I would put it in B tier.
Honestly, I was thinking the same. Even me not liking the show, that is a particular bit of my humor. What they did with the show was amazing. I put it like in mid B, or pretty high. Like over here would be good.
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't exactly know what she thought of the show.
I think the show is fucking funny. So, you know, I gotta give it credit. You know, when I was watching it, I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. That's for sure. But there's just, I think Uncle Grandpa has a good strength to it where if they can get a topic to make an episode about, and it's a fucking good idea, they're gonna knock it out of the park. I feel like people are gonna get really fucking mad at that.
I'm just gonna make like the normal thumbnail where it's just both of our avatars, and then like the background would literally just be a PNG of Uncle Grandpa being ahead of Teen Titans. My gym partner's a monkey. This kind of suffers from we already talking about it when we talked about Camp Lazlo. And even though I barely remember that much about it, I know it was literally just better Camp Lazlo.
If that's true, then I probably won't like Camp Lazlo, because I thought Gym Partner was a monkey. I thought that show was not good. I think I remember hating
Barely
it.
remember it. I think it was like just okay from what I remember.
It probably is just okay, but I hated that show when it was on. I don't know why.
I think the most memorable thing from that show was not even a thing from the show. It was just that, like, me as an edgy kid going into Facebook and searching for the show, there was a racist joke.
Oh, put it in the robot.
I would just
tier.
place it literally just here, like ahead of Camp Lazlo, because it's better Camp Lazlo. I don't think it makes it a particularly good show. You know, the thing with those two shows is, I barely remember anything of Camp Lazlo. I remember a little bit of Gym Partner's a Monkey. So one is less memorable than the other at the very least.
That's true. Yeah.
The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I gotta say, that's one of my favorite childhood shows. I love that show.
So between all the older shows, you know, you have like Courage, Foster's, Flapjack, Eddy. Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy is easily my favorite.
Me too. I'd say it's like ahead of Flapjack, basically.
It's just a fucking hilarious show, and
It's so good. I love the concept of like, just the isn't like the leader of like the death plane or something just a a small elephant guy that like eats nachos.
Fred Burger.
It's so good. I love those kinds of stupid concepts. I'd put it like in A tier ahead of all of the like old shows like from the 2000s.
Honestly, I would put an S behind Chowder. I know we're not ranking the films, but because like that just.
Oh, the
introduces
films
me
are
to-
absolutely godlike.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention those. Yeah.
But even then, I have seen some recent. Well, I've recently watched some episodes of Billy and Mandy, and they're fucking really good. Like,
As a balance, let's just put it on top of A then. We Bear Bears. I actually watched a lot of this show, and I think it was okay. It was pretty good.
well, how much of it have you watched?
I watched a lot, like a fucking lot of the early stages, and the later parts I watched a little bit. I know there was a fuck ton of character development in this show. I didn't get to see that much of it, so that kind of affects my view on it, I guess.
I mean, yeah, because I've seen the entire first season, and that's it. I do when I did watch We Bear Bears, I did like it, quite a bit even. I thought it was a pretty damn good show, but not a lot stood out to me. In
Yeah,
particular.
that was basically the early We Bear Bears kind of thing. It was a good show, but it wasn't that good. Later on, it basically turns pretty emotional. His Ice Bear was just like a gag character. Because he basically was just a guy that was very capable but didn't talk about anything. He was just like, he said single words at most. And I found that really funny. But then, the mechanic that they had going, like, that the girl offered, is they became actual good friends, and they had like heartfelt moments together. Like you could see his emotions showing through. That is strong character development. Like going from a guy that didn't really speak at all, a guy that actually like cared about a lot of stuff, you know. And you actually could see how he got so like good at cooking, for example. Like they show that, and they show how he's a great fighter and stuff. I think it would be a good B tier show.
I was thinking like top of B tier. I just like watching the fat bears make calzones, to be honest. But
yeah. And here, I think that's it because those two shows here are repeated.
yeah. Well,
So,
okay. Let's look through it again and see if we would want to like tweak any positions, because that we said we would try it and like think about
Alright.
it later.
Okay. Do you think Adventure Time should go higher? Compared to the other shows? Because I feel like it being on the same tier as shows like My Gym Partner's a Monkey is kind of not good. 'Cause it wasn't memorable like those shows. Adventure Time was very memorable.
The thing is, honestly, I would say maybe leave Adventure Time where it is and then shift the other two down.
I feel like that's a good decision. I'm gonna put them like behind Powerpuff Girls even, honestly. Cause like, it basically just Powerpuff Girls even is memorable.
Yeah.
Like, there's things I remember about it that I like, even if I dislike the show. S tier, do you think like Gumball and OKKO should still be a tie, or do you think one is better than the other?
I mean, obviously, I think KO's better, but
No, and I think Gumball is better.
yeah.
So there's that.
That's why we're not
I think it
gonna
should
agree.
still be a tie, right?
Yeah, might as well. We'll just make it a Cold War.
You think the order of any of the shows here from the 2000s in A tier, so going from Samurai Jack to Ed and Eddy, do you think we could shift the order of those?
Well, I don't know anything about Samurai Jack, so I can't really say that much about it. But I would put Foster's. I would honestly put that behind like Flapjack.
Yeah, because Foster's, I feel like it was too much of a kid show. I feel like they went a bit too hard on that. It was too family friendly.
And they need
I
to
guess.
make the shows for me, a grown man.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it here.
And then I
can
think
agree with that.
I think the rest of it's fine, honestly.
So this was a very controversial tier list, and we are probably never gonna be friends with anyone else ever.
Well, it's fine because we agree.
So, Tedious, thank you a lot for making this tier list with me. Without all the help that you lended to me, I probably wouldn't be able to do it by myself, and this was a very great time. I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I did.
Well, Sethington, I don't disagree that this list that we have made is absolute fact and is 100% true from an objective standpoint. It was a fucking awful time being here. I hated every minute of it. I hated having this opportunity, but you know, I mean, I did it. I did it for you, man. I did what you wanted. Okay. I took time out of my busy schedule, and fuck, you know, you got it. Okay. You can leave me alone now.